30 years ago, there were half as many people in Washington, yet the Forest Service was clear-cutting 2 square miles of classic Northwest old growth per week. The idea of big carnivores in Washington, wolves, wolverines, fishers, corridors, reconnecting landscapes, these were just ideas. Had no idea that we could actually make these things happen.
We saved ancient forests and nationalized the campaign. Mitch did that. He got that. And we did it together.
I met Mitch Friedman in 1991, and he was just starting out with his new nonprofit organization. And at the time, I was really drawn to what he was doing because he was one of the few organizations nationwide, really, that was looking at the large landscape approach to protecting endangered species.
So something that's unique about Conservation Northwest's approach is that we really care about people in addition to the critters and the landscapes that we're trying to conserve. And so we pull people together and we really listen to other stakeholders' needs, and we craft our solutions with those needs in mind.
I really appreciate Conservation Northwest's acknowledgement of people on the landscape. It's very important to acknowledge people who are living in proximity with some of these big carnivores and even other wildlife.
We're working in the Central Cascades to restore watersheds and habitat. We're partnering with the Forest Service and groups like the Backcountry Horsemen and the Washington Trails Association and four-wheeler groups to improve education and outreach, restore habitat, and improve watershed health on a policy scale.
These places need to be protected, restored. Salmon, water, the rivers, the forests, the animals. We're all connected.
If we don't protect and connect the landscapes of our region, we can't protect the wildlife that lives here. You have to talk about the big landscapes and the ecosystems that they need to survive.
Habitat connectivity is really a keystone of conservation. It's one of the main strategies which can help wildlife adapt to changes in the climate.
I can remember my original thoughts about I-90 and the landscape around it and how that was dividing the Cascades in two. And I thought, boy, this is something that somebody should fix, but nobody ever will. We fixed it. Every time I drive under that amazing wildlife overpass, I guess you could say I'm humbled by that.
Our work with wolves is really inspiring. It's bringing people together, understanding where the conflict is, and really listening to how the wolf issue affects people in rural communities, and then working with them to come up with solutions that works for everybody.
I get to work with hundreds of volunteers every year that are dedicating thousands of hours to wildlife research and monitoring. Volunteers fill in the gap where agency partners don't always have the resources to go, and we're able to provide that data to our project partners.
When I was 16 years old, I started volunteering with the Citizen Wildlife Monitoring Project. When I noticed an issue with how long it took for volunteers to categorize these images, I decided to teach myself computer science in order to develop a machine learning algorithm to categorize these images automatically so that volunteers can spend their time more productively and efficiently.
Conservation Northwest is, I believe, the premier environmental organization in the state, one of the premier conservation organizations. And it's moved beyond kind of a save the trees approach to really adopting the concepts that you can't preserve the large landscapes without working with and preserving the communities of people within those landscapes.
One thing that makes us unique that people don't often think about is our tactical range. From collaborative to confrontational, from acquisition to litigation.
We have to change public opinion. We have to change policy. We have to change how money works, so that at the end of the day, people like Conservation Northwest and Lummi can stand together.
The natural world provides so much to each and every one of us, but to be able to give back to something that gives so much to us on an emotional and spiritual level is really meaningful.
I like the way it's multifaceted because that's what conservation is. It's not just a one program approach. All these things inspired me to join the board and proud to be part of Conservation Northwest.
They got all these great ideas and they got great supporters in the state and up in the federal. You want to push them to do more, support them for what they're doing.
What we've been able to accomplish, stitching back together this inspiring wild landscape and bringing back majestic species that weren't here, it's empowering. It shows that we can. I believe in that.